Welcome back, everyone. We are here on the Cabral Concept, a brand new week here on the show. Can't wait, as always, to get into our motivation and mindset show of the week. And the reason is this. Every single Monday, we're basically starting new. We are starting fresh. Now, we are building off of each and every week that came before it. But again, make no mistake about it, you have to redo each and every week. And I look at that as not necessarily a bad thing because not every week is my best week. And so I want to start a new week fresh. And if I did great last week, then fantastic. I want to try to see, can I build off of the momentum of last week? That's why sometimes our weekends can actually throw us off. Now, again, I'm not against weekends. I love being able to take the time off with family, with friends, to relax and to enjoy. But once we get started on Monday morning, let's make sure that we try to carry forward our wins and that we let go of our losses, right? Those losses are simply learning-based experiences that we can continue to grow from. So really, again, all this thing about, trying to learn from our failures. Sure, learn from your failures, but don't think of them as failures. Like, that's the biggest thing. They're not failures unless you stop. Many people have said that before, but it's nonetheless the truth. You literally have not failed if you haven't yet stopped playing the game, so continue to play the game. Now, today, what I want to share with you is this, is that really, you can master anything in your life. That means when I look at all of my big areas of life with family and relationships, with my health, with my overall body, with my work and my career, and with overall spirituality, and you can kind of bucket them however you want. I always think that most people are probably doing pretty well in a couple, like they really are. And those seem to come easily to them. And I'm going to explain why in just a moment. But there are others that we may continue to struggle in. And what I want to share with you, and I hope that's obvious within the next 10 minutes of the show, is that there's always a reason why. I talk about that in terms of health, right? Like, you can come to me or my team or our IHPs really with any based health issue. And the thing is, we don't try to put you inside of a box and say like, oh, this is only going to be helped with this particular modality or that modality. No, we're going to actually look at, okay, you have autoimmune issues. Why do you have autoimmune issues, right? Is it just genetic? Well, there's a genetic component to it, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be expressed as an autoimmune issue because you probably didn't have it 20 years ago, 30 years ago, et cetera. So we need to figure out, why did it express itself now? And we just simply work through the equation. We look through it. Is it gut motility issues? Is it gut permeability issues? Is it parasites? Is it H. pylori? Is it, SIBO? Like, again, you understand. We just work through the scenario as to why it is. Well, it's not any different. Like, it's literally not any different with your relationships, with your spirituality, with your career, with your finances. It's, what are the things that you're doing on a daily basis and you've done for your life that's led you up to this moment? And if you're not where you want to be, this is not a scolding. This is not condescending. This is not talking down, because in my own life, I try to get better in certain areas, and certain areas are doing pretty well. So I'm certainly taking stock and saying, okay, how can I get better? What it comes down to is this, is that each and every day we are taking actions in our life. And those actions on the given day, yeah, sometimes it's a big deal. Like, sometimes we have to make a big decision. Sometimes it's a big event. But for the most part, we're just day in and day out. We are going through the typical hours in a day, putting in the time with our relationships, the time with work, the time with our kids, the time with finance, like whatever it might be. And we're just kind of going through it every single day. But the interesting thing is this, it's all of those days and all of those actions that lead to something. So even though it seems like no big deal on a given day, it is a big deal when you string together 2,000 of those days over 6 or 7 years, right? Like, that's when it's a big deal. So when you look at it like that, you have to look at your actions of that day and say, what I want this action of today to carry forward for the next 6 or 7 years. Do I want to continue to do this? And you might not have the answer, and that's okay. I'm going to share with you why, and again, just in a moment. But what I like to say is this: how you get to anywhere in your life, meaning like a great relationship, a great body for you. Again, nobody else's body but yours. You get to decide. Great health. Same, again, you get to choose. And great career or finances, great spirituality, however you want to look at it. None of that happens by accident. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, that person's so lucky. Well, maybe, right? Maybe. I don't know about this whole thing of luck. There's certainly circumstances that can sway in our favor or not in our favor, but oftentimes a lot of people behind the scenes have been doing a lot of the right things for many, many years, then all of a sudden they got lucky, right? So that preparation often meets opportunity. What I want to share with you is this, is that we need to look at the secret sauce. We need to look at how is it that some people are doing well in certain areas and, again, maybe not so well in other areas. I think you'll find is that the people that are doing and they are successful, and that includes yourself in certain areas, is that you're repeating a set of habits that you've developed, maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously, maybe even from childhood that you learned over a period of years and decades. So now all of those habits for, again, let's just go back and say, 2,000 days or so over 6 years, that you've been able to then put together the right actions on a daily basis in order to eventually get to a result that you're looking for. And that result you're looking for is your goal, is that happy relationship, right? Or that great health that you're looking for. So now if we understand that the accumulation of actions leads to this volume, right? The volume of actions and habits that we've taken over time that gets an end result. We now have to use that same exact thinking to say, okay, well, if my relationship isn't where I want it to be, what actions have I been taking over that same period of time? And now we need to examine that. But the problem is most people don't. And the reason is they say, well, that's not in my control, right? So we like to give ourselves credit for where we're doing well in life. And we like to let ourselves off the hook for where we're not. Now, again, I'm not here to judge. What I'm here to share with you is this, is that if you are willing to take 100% responsibility in your life, you're far more likely to get the result that you want out of life. And that's because if you don't believe that you're responsible or you can control any part of your life, well, you're just left to then whims of what may happen in your life. I'd much rather believe that I'm largely responsible for my good and my bad, because if I'm responsible for my good, like when we were kids, we like to accept, like if we got an A in class, well, I got the A, right? But if we got a C or a D or whatever it might be, like, oh, the teacher gave me the C. No, well, you gave yourself the C, right? And again, I'm not here to judge or say anything like that, but this is really important. And the reason why I say this is, yeah, take credit for your wins, no doubt about it. But also take responsibility for the areas that you're not doing as great in. And the reason is that if you want to be great in them, if you want them to improve, you have to believe that you can actually improve them. And I believe that you can, because a lot of the times, again, let's just go back to relationships. You're doing things, and again, you can blame it on your partner or your spouse. There's no doubt about it. I understand it takes two people, but you want to start to look at, like, where are the times that you're not getting along or having arguments or whatever it is? Like, what's the trigger? Like, what is the event for that leading up to that? We have to understand that. We have to look at that, because that's how it is for everything. Like for your nutrition, in terms of your overall health. If you are snacking a lot after dinner, you have to ask yourself, like, is that going to lead to the health or to the body or to what you're looking for, right? Like, you have to ask yourself that. And a lot of the times we don't actually stop to ask ourselves that. We don't stop to actually say, well, yeah, this action, not once, right? Like, hey, have a snack on a Friday night after dinner if you want. Have a dessert, have whatever it is. But you have to ask yourself, if you're having dessert or you're having processed foods or you're having inflammatory foods every single day or most days of the week, don't you believe or don't you feel that your health may then suffer over time? Like, you just have to ask yourself that. If you are instigating or doing things that you know that your partner doesn't really like, whether you think it's right or wrong, you have to ask yourself, like, do you believe that that's going to lead to a good, healthy outcome? The same with the overall, I would say, body transformation. And again, it's your choice for what you and where you want your body to end up. But if you're not kind of walking the 10,000 steps per day, or you're not moving your body at all, and you're not eating the right foods, and you're not trying to keep it balanced, where do you think that it is going to lead to? And again, I'm saying this just to ask questions. That's it. Overall career. If you're putting in the minimum in your career and you're maybe working less hours than you should in your career and you're not taking your advanced certifications or whatever it is, where do you think that the career is going to get to? So, and I can go on with spirituality as well. Like if you're not doing the work, you're not doing the reading, you're not working on yourselves, where do you think that's going to lead to? And I ask you this because when I compare the areas in, let's say, my life, or you compare the areas in your life to what's going really well to what's not, oftentimes is we're doing the right thing in the areas that we're excelling at. We're making the right choices, not all the time, but more times than not. And in the areas that we need to improve, we're not making the right choices. Now, here's the big difference. This is now what the show is all about. Every single day, though, you're taking an action no matter what. So in relationships, you're either making more of the right decisions or less of the right decisions. But no matter what, you're making decisions and taking actions. Same with nutrition. If you're eating 3 meals a day, are they healthy? Right? Or if you're eating 4 times a day, are they healthy choices? And if so, what percentage? How much? Right? Wait to look at that. Are you moving your body more days than not? If the answer is no, then you can't get upset then when you're losing muscle tone as you get older, you have less energy, you have less endurance, you have less stamina, you have poor hormones. Like it's part of the overall process. You can get away with it when you're younger, there's no doubt about it, but not as much as you begin to age. So you need to keep up. So what I'm saying is no matter what, every single day you're taking an action. You can take an action to exercise or not exercise. It's still an action, right? So what happens though is it's the accumulation over time, never any 1 week or even 1 month. It's the accumulation over years that leads to where you are here today. So the other issue is that a lot of this is just subconscious. Like we're not even thinking about it, right? We are just moving through life. If we had to think about every single decision that we make in life, we would be so overwhelmed. So we just kind of go on autopilot. Well, I also find this to be, fascinating as well, is that the things that are going right, we are making the same decisions pretty much every single day to make those things go even more right. And the areas of our life that are falling behind, well, we continue to make those decisions, put things off over and over. And so we do get the same results. And we are taking those actions. The difference is oftentimes we're not even aware. And that's why I preach self-awareness so much. Because self-awareness as to what you want in life. And because again, it's your life, right? It's completely your life. You should get to decide. Now, do you have people dependent on you? Probably, right? But it's still your life, right? You still get to make decisions. You still get to make the call. And so what I want you to understand is that begin to examine the areas of your life that are going well. Give yourself credit. What are you doing well in the areas that are doing well? And what are the actions that have led there? Now, we'll examine some of the areas that maybe aren't going well, but we want to improve. All right, well, first let's start with what is it that you want, right? So if you want a better, let's just say, relationship. Okay, you know that you want to improve your relationship. All right, so we'll start there. That's a great first goal. So now what do we need to do? We need to examine why do you not have a great relationship? And you say, well, I'm always arguing with my spouse or partner. Okay, but probably not about everything. So what are the things that you're arguing about? Narrow those down. Okay, these are the main things. These are things that just continually to come up, right? This is literally the subconscious replaying, right, itself of childhood-based trauma or things we don't even know that we have. Okay, so that's not for today's topic, but let's go back and let's just say, well, it always seems to be about responsibilities around the house. Like maybe it's cleaning, maybe it's getting the kids ready, like who knows, right? Like you're going to pick your reason. I don't want to put those reasons in your head. Okay. So now what do we need to do? Well, it always revolves around this, and typically it's after dinner. So we know, okay, we've got a trigger around these areas, and the main time it happens is after dinner when everybody's stressed. We only have a couple hours left in the night. There's always so much going on, and this, that, and get it. Again, okay, we get it. So now what do we need to do? Well, your partner may not be the one and not ready yet to break the cycle. So that means you need to be that person. You need to rise above the situation, even if they are also part of the issue. And you might say, well, that's not fair. It shouldn't rely all on me. And listen, I get it. Life isn't always fair, right? But you can be the one to achieve your goal. Your goal is a better relationship. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to realize when the trigger is happening. We need to be able to breathe through it, step back, and choose a different path out of that. is actually maybe delineate responsibilities. Keep things easier. Sit down, have as civilized a conversation as you can. Not let you, the other person may be getting upset, not let you get upset at this moment. Say to them that, hey, you want to be able to do this differently this time. You want to be able to talk through it. You want to be able to divide up responsibilities and to be able to help each other, because in the end, you want to be able to have a great relationship. You need to be able to work through that. And then you take new daily actions, new steps in order to be able to now move past whatever obstacles there were. Now, again, my forte is not necessarily in relationships, it is with overall health. And so when we look at someone's overall health, what we need to do is, going back to that autoimmune based issue, we need to look at like, well, what is the actual issue here? Are we eating foods that we know trigger inflammation? Are we eating certain types of dairy that we know aren't good for our body, or gluten, or, believe it or not, even egg whites for some individuals, or it could be other things such as almonds. And so we have to say, okay, this individual is triggering inflammation based on these foods. Now, it's not the only thing. There's other gut-based issues. We need to work on those specific things. But in the meantime, while we are healing that gut, they need to be able to remove those food sensitivities, because even if their favorite thing is grilled cheese and they're eating that wheat and that dairy every single day, they're going to continue to increase that inflammatory based load. So what we need to do is, at least for a period of time, is to make different decisions. But here's the interesting thing. As you make those different decisions, typically you're going to get better outcomes, like that decrease in inflammatory load, less arguments, better relationships. And that over time, not right away, but over time, is going to hopefully then trigger in the brain more of that, because your body does want, your body is your nervous system, right? And your mind is going to want more of a positive outcome, which means that you're going to say, oh, this is working. Okay, I know that I have these particular triggers. I'm going to stay aware of those. And I'm going to continue to take actions, new actions, because remember, if you keep taking the same actions over and over, you're going to get the same result. So we need to take new actions in order to get these new results. And you start to say, hey, I like these new results. I'm going to do more of that. And then over time, guess what happens? Those new habits begin to create the wiring in your brain, as that's now your automatic action. So now you have more areas of your life going well. Right? And then there's only a couple areas left that you want to work on, because these ones now are on autopilot, because you are now practicing new habits on a daily basis that become solidified. 21 days to start it. They've found an average of about 66 days to set it in, 90 days overall. So that's about 12 weeks. And that's why, again, 12 weeks seems to make sense. It makes sense from literally when I look at studying Ayurvedic-based patterns, I look at how the body works bioregulatory-wise, about 12 weeks, and you can do that. So focus on it. Like, what can you focus on over the next 12 weeks, over the next 3 months? Don't pick a million things, pick one, right? Pick one big thing, though, that if you get that right, hey, life's going to be exponentially better. If you have a better relationship, you're happier overall. If you have better health, you have more energy, right? You have more vitality, you're in a better mood. Then you can also work on relationships or your career. Get your body and your mind where you need it to be now, because if you do that, it just flows into all other areas of your life. Hopefully today's show was helpful. As always, if it was, please do feel free to share this show with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. I appreciate you.